Well, a historic celebration in our nation's capital yesterday, marking 50 years since the inspiring March on Washington and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's historic I Have a Dream speech. And President Obama, of course, was not the only high-profile speaker there. He was joined by some big-name celebrities. There's a great shot of Oprah Winfrey standing there. It was a little rainy, as you can see. Also, a rousing speech by the Oscar-winning actor and entertainer Jamie Foxx. But here's a question that some people are scratching their heads about today, because notably absent was a man by the name of Tim Scott, who just happens to be the only African-American who currently serves in the United States Senate. But Senator Scott did not get the chance to share his thoughts there yesterday. He was on Fox and Friends, though, in the morning.
I think I have a responsibility to be as educated and as economically viable as possible, so as to say that those folks who sacrificed for the dream, that the sacrifice was worth it. I am living my mother's American dream today. She worked 16 hours a day to keep us off of welfare, and because of her efforts, I was able to succeed.
Oh, he's an inspiration as well. Richard Fowler joins us now, radio talk show host, and Rich Lowry, editor of the National Review and a Fox News contributor. Richard, let me start with you. What's your reaction to the fact that Tim Scott was not invited to this yesterday?
Well, I got to tell you, Martha, I think the reason why Tim Scott wasn't invited, because I think this is an issue that goes beyond race. This is about jobs and justice, which is why they marched 50 years ago, and why they marched to, yesterday. And I think the fact that his voting record in the United States, both the House and the Senate, don't speak to either jobs or justice, is the reason why he didn't get an invite.
Rich, what do you think about that?
I think that's absurd. I mean, if you're going from the premise that this commemoration should have been a liberal democratic event based on liberal democratic premises, like we just heard, that Tim Scott is somehow opposed to justice or opposed to jobs, well then, yeah, you exclude him. But this was supposed to be a national commemoration of a great national event. And the reason why we remember the march is not because you had a lot of people there talking about more government activism or more jobs programs, is because you had an effort to return the country to its founding ideals, to achieve basic justice when it came to civil rights. So it shouldn't be a political event. It shouldn't be a liberal democratic event.
Go ahead, Richard.
I think if you listen to Dr. King's speech very carefully, he definitely talked about how we need to create jobs and how we need to solve the wealth inequity in this country, both 50 years ago and today. Beyond that point, both John Boehner and the entire Republican leadership was invited, and they all turned down the invitation. So, I mean, if his party leadership turned down the invitation, I don't understand why, why Tim Scott, why there's an issue here.
Well, let's listen. Let's play somebody who did. I'm sorry, Rich. I just want to play this from Jamie Foxx, who was invited. I'm not sure what he's done to create jobs in the country either, but let's listen to what he said.
What we need to do now is the young folks pick it up now, so that when we're 87 years old, talking to the other young folks, we could say it was me, Will Smith, Jay-Z, Kanye, Alicia Keys, Kerry Washington. The list goes on and on.
Jay-Z and Kanye, I guess, are the children of Martin Luther King and those who will carry forward the dream. Richard, what do you think?
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. I think what we saw from the March 50 years ago is that there was a lot of star power there, and we know that star power helps push the movement forward. Beyond, it creates buy-in across the community, both I think across the country, because those people are notable individuals, just like Oprah Winfrey was there, who's a very notable individual, who is somebody who transcends race, who speaks to the fact that as a nation we need to continue to move our country forward.
Rich Lowry?
Well, look, I mean, there's a reason no one memorizes or talks about the passages in Martin Luther King's speech that Richard is talking about. It's because they weren't central to the historic achievement of basic civil rights in this country. So the effort to take this and make it all into a liberal democratic celebration of liberal democratic activists and liberal democratic celebrities is really wrong.
That's just not true.
That you would invite Jamie Foxx, but not invite the only African-American senator.
Why did John Boehner turn down the invitation?
South Carolina.
I have no idea why he would have.
They scrambled at the end to invite some of these people. And
That's not true at all.
Yes, it is.
They invited both Bush presidents. They invited both older Bush and younger Bush.
You can't invite a House leader on 2 weeks' notice and expect him to be there.
Let me ask Richard one more question, just in terms of, was anything missing from yesterday? And Martin Luther King talked a lot about self-reliance and about, a fair and equal justice system for all people in this country. One last thought from Richard Fowler, and then we're going to go. We're running out of time.
Well, I don't think anything was missing from yesterday. I think we heard the president talk about how we need to get rid of the school-to-prison pipeline. We need to create real justice and and create more jobs in this country. And that's what this march was about 50 years ago, and that's what it was about yesterday.
All right,
it was about much more than jobs, which is why it has such a historic effect.
Rich and Richard, thank you very much.